Hey guys, Zetas again, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I have a couple stories that I found on r/entitled parents that I wanted to share with you today. Without any further ado, let's get into it. Alright, this first one came from the username user/throwaway coconut girl. This happened a year ago. I, 26 female at the time of 2021, have only a living parental grandmother, a 90-year-old female. Growing up, I tried to bond and form any form of emotional connection, but it only caused me not to be related to her by blood. I would get compared to her favorite grandchildren. She would constantly abuse me emotionally and told me that I was the black sheep of the family, and then told me that I wasn't going to succeed in life, which is why I tried to unalive myself because she was motivated them most of the time. The last straw of me when it was my older brother died. He was 25 at the time and told my grieving parents that another filthy soul out of this world. My brother was an innocent soul that was killed off for only eating in a fast food restaurant, and I snapped at her, telling her, "The day of your funeral comes, I'll probably wear the brightest red dress I have in my closet, because I'll never mourn your loss. On the contrary, that when I will celebrate when that happens." This happened in 2014. Since then, at every family event, I would avoid her or pretend she doesn't exist. Heck, I would even go back and skip her birthday parties. So last November, she got sick, and she wanted to tell her children and grandchildren to take care of her in the hospital, since her great favorite daughter, my aunt, a 52 female, and her favorite grandchildren, a 33 female, a 31 male, and another 25 female, can't do it. She said this to my dad over the phone, and I told her, "Sorry, but my grandparents died in 2004 and 2012. I don't have any other grandparents since I am not a granddaughter to my last living grandparent." She started to cry more like manipulate, and told me that I am her granddaughter, and this could be a good moment for us to bond and mend our relationship. I said to her, "Now I am your granddaughter? I needed you for like 26 years, but in those 26 years you broke me emotionally, and I can't study since I work. Plus, there's no relationship to save." I hung up for my father before she could say anything, and I've been told that I am a horrible human being for what I have said to her, but I don't feel sorry for her at all. I mean, she dug her own grave. Now she can go lie in it for all I care. That's karma for you. Yeah, P, I agree. If your grandmother ignores you from acknowledging that you're her granddaughter for 26 years, and then she comes back to you saying that she needs something, you have made the right choice just to hang up on her. That's the karma she deserves. Alright, this next Reddit video comes from user/abortion who lived. This happened when I was 10. Someone requested another story about my entitled cousin, so here's the reason I don't respect her. I had just finished getting my braids and put on about full 2 months before this. My mom wasn't feeling well, and my cousin took me for a weekend. On the first night, after a 2-hour story time about how the God wants us to be vegan or something, we ended up going to lunch, and which she insisted me that we all get sushi with her much older husband. This guy was always talking like he was the most intelligent person on earth. It's me, him, cousin, her 2 kids, 2 and 6, and I'm being talked down to do, but the exception was for me to stay silent. I have ADHD, dyslexia, and ADD. I'm also 10 and bored. Essentially, after 15 minutes of everything going wrong with OP, I blurted out, "Wow, you talk a lot," and started eating chips. While being yelled at in hushed tones, I'm trying to dig out a chip that's stuck in my braces. My cousin starts slapping my hand away, but it caused my crying pain, and at the fifth time she slapped me extremely hard in the face, snatching my hand away from my face, and she gets in my face and says, "Stop putting your filthy hands to your face, you're embarrassing, you little..." I don't really say that. "You little child." Her husband reaches past her face and slams my hand onto the table, fracturing my wrist, we found out a few days later. I started crying, and she declares that the meal is ruined. I was shoved towards the car, pushed into it, and taken home. My mom is so sick that she doesn't know who she is. My cousin tells my dad that I threw a temper tantrum and kicked her baby, and I cannot be near them again. With my mom sick, I was sent to my room and grounded for 3 months. My mom took me to the hospital when she felt better, but I was told to apologize, so I called my cousin. Very loudly, I apologized, and then when my mom thought I hung up, I added, "I really hate you," and then hung up. My grandmother heard me and gave me a hug and said, "Yeah, that one is a jerk." The after story. My grandmother listened to what happened while in her 70s, told my cousin and then husband that she has 3 rules from now on. You don't speak near me, you don't stand near me, you don't test me. And then told my cousin that she is not welcome at the next family reunion. She, grandma, and my other cousin go pick up my cousin's children for the reunion. The explanation of my parents' behavior: my mother had a long-standing illness that would damage her memory and mess with her mind. My dad isn't my father, but he is truly loved by my mother. He had tunnel vision when she was sick. I don't blame them for this, but there's a part of me that hates them for this. Alright, this next story comes from TransBN 8787. I, 35 female, and my wife, a 31 female, have been together for 11 years this month, and it's been perfect for us, aside from her awful mother, the entitled parent. Firstly, her mom didn't want her to marry me, as she thought her daughter, being that the wife is only a child, should remain single until she found a man with both money and her mom's choosing. I had a fair share of good relationships with her mother until August 2020, when I lost my job due to company closure, and with regarding physical health, chose to apply for long-term disability as my day-to-day work life had become more increasingly impossible. Coupled with that charge related to supposed assault in a restroom, I used a woman's restroom, and a CIS woman told an officer in the store that I tried to touch her inappropriately, which was a lie. I never left the stall, passing her on my way in. I served 2 years in probation and ordered to pay $8,000 in restitution for emotional distress. The star, I was out as trans to anyone until the last 4.5 years. March 13, 2018. Her mom only just found out as a nurse friend told her against HIPAA law, but I guess I digress. She's now trying to get my wife to divorce me on grounds that I misled my wife before marriage because I won't give her grandkids. My wife was bisexual and child-free before we met, but her mother claims that I pressured her into both choices. I was infertile before I started hormone replacement therapy, but now 100% since surgery. My wife knew I was infertile and child-free, overjoyed when I told her that I never wanted kids, and it was like were meant to be more in ways than just this. She has been texting, calling, and nonstop on my wife to divorce me because her daughter deserves a better husband, should give her grandchildren she deserves, and is making a fool of herself by staying married to a man that is wasted in her daughter's life during her fertile years. My wife is 100% on my side, but her mom won't accept the choice. Her mom even had paperwork drawn up for my wife to serve me with if she would just wake up to how she's wasting her life on a loser. And it's really getting to my wife, and she has no other family outside of her mom and her adopted dad, and doesn't want to cut them off. It's gotten to the point where she just goes to work, comes back, sleeps till work, rinse and repeat. I'm also at the point where I just think it's better for her that if I just either sign the papers for her mom or just stop taking my life maintaining medication and let her believe I pass peacefully in the night. I don't want my wife to have a full breakdown or receive any more grief because of who she married is. So Reddit, what is your advice? Well, OP, I'm completely biased on the decision right here, and I don't have a choice to make a decision. But if I had to, I would say just keep taking your medicine and be a loving, supporting spouse to your wife. Even if her mother says that she should just marry another person, just keep supporting her. Because in the end, the better being is the person who lives a better life. Alright, guys. This next one comes from user/open detective. During my freshman year of high school, I was in the marching band. My school's marching band was absolutely massive, with over 130 people. As a result, the sound that we make was incredibly loud, which is appropriate for a marching band of this size. While the band was sitting in the stands, the entire mother stormed up to me visibly angry, holding her crying child's hand. Me, can I help you, miss? EM, can you tell your friends to play quieter and turn in my child's ears? Me, well, we are a marching band. We're supposed to play loud and express ourselves. If you don't like the noise, I suggest that you leave. The entire mother shouts in a very aggressive tone, "Play quieter, or I will call the police and file a noise complaint." Me, why don't you just go speak with our band director? She walks down to the stands of the band director and shouts at him to tell us to play quieter. I overheard the conversation, and he basically said the same stuff that I did. Clearly getting angrier, she tried to swipe my drumsticks out of my hands. I'm a percussionist, by the way, even tried to stop the marching band from leaving the stand to enter the field to play the halftime show. After the halftime show, I could clearly hear her child screaming and crying. Then a few minutes later, What do you know? The cops are here. She rambled to the cops about how loud we were playing and asked to file a noise complaint. Then the police then said this, "Ma'am, this is a marching band. Marching bands are supposed to be loud. If you do no back down, you will be arrested for disturbing the peace." Ian's face turned pale white, and then as she walked back to the stands, weeping along with her child, Compton asked to get the band director if he would want to press charges, and he said yes, he would. Ian getting a $2,000 fine. To this day, I'm still wondering why she decided to come to a football game if her child hated the noise. Honestly, OP, I don't know, man. Most people who have a quote unquote single mother and their only child really think that they control the world because they brought life into the world. But that's how they are. The world ain't changing now since they have all these people in it. So yeah, it's kind of funny to me that she thought this was a good idea, but ended up getting a $2,000 fine. Alright guys, this next story comes from usernames Dapper Dickle. Me, a 17-year-old, and my sister share a father but not a mother. We'll call her Hannah. She's 30. We also have an older sister who we'll call Lydia, who's 31, and our father we'll call Kyle. Fake names for privacy. Tyler and Hannah with his high school sweetheart, but ended up cheating on her and leaving her Hannah, and a time later to be with my current mother, I'll call her Karen. Kyle was never there for Hannah, though through her whole life. Even when she had social media and he knew about it, he made no effort to talk or reach out. Just ignore her existence and left them both for my mom and Lydia, who begged for me to be born so my parents didn't even want me to. But this isn't about me. Fast forward to this year, Hannah announced that she was pregnant with her fiancé Jack's kid. Jack is a trans man and has already had a child, but Amber has always wanted 2 or more kids because siblings are the best. Hannah was never private about her child relationship and continued to post. The only time Kyle ever reached out to Hannah was because she was pregnant. He didn't want anything to do with the first original kid, just the one that Hannah was carrying. On top of that, Kyle and Karen are so transphobic and just can't accept the fact that Hannah is actually happy that they stalked Jack's page just to find out that he was trans and trying to find proof of him being controlling and abusive. Just trying to separate their relationship and ruin it, because they know Jack and Hannah together won't let them control the new grandbabies, but they think if Hannah is alone and vulnerable, she'll let them. Kyle and Karen stalked Jack so hard that they looked so deep into their videos, they took little tiny snippets of things Jack had said and put into bad light, when in reality they're just putting themselves into a bad light. Kyle has also committed stuff like, "Oh, your new baby is so cute, the other is just a bonus, and I'm finally a grandpa, I feel so lucky," which has been stuff he's done for a long time, trying to get more attention on himself and stuff. My parents are absolutely insane and stupid that they think ignoring the fact that they should abandon Hannah, abuse me and Lydia, and think, "Oh, we're just suddenly to pop into Hannah's life after years of abandonment and torture her and expect her to forgive us without an apology." I don't know what they're trying to paint themselves into a good life after all they've done. It's comical. I don't know if they're being dramatic either. So if you want to give your opinions in the comments, go ahead. But remember, Kyle and Karen are alcoholics who physically hit me and Lydia as children, manipulated us, and to the point that Lydia cut them out of their life completely because Karen is so entitled that she thinks, even though I hit you, I did this for you, and you should make up your actions even though I won't own up to mine. Okay, I was looking through the comments in this one, and I just found like this guy saying, "Tyler and Amber, I swear I could have sworn this was a Teen Mom post." That's funny to me. All right, guys, here's another story from user/ I am a coaster nerd. Okay, this is a real long one. The cast, you know it. Entitled EM, entitled mom, me, NS nice son, ES entitled son, ND nice dad. For some background, I just purchased a new PC a few weeks ago. I wanted to build my own, but with graphic cards prices being as they are, I decided the essential option was to purchase a pre-built. I did some research to make sure that I ended up with high quality parts, and it ended up with quite a well-known brand, and I love it. Here in the UK, we just had a bank holiday, so bins haven't been collected for a while, meaning that the box that came in was still sitting in front of our house. My dad has been friends with ND for a while, and has met several decades ago at a pub. He has been single for a very long time, but recently met a woman on Tinder. The woman has 2 sons, one about 14 and one about 12. ES. The story: My dad asked ND around for a barbecue last weekend for the Although I'm not the biggest fan too, but social interaction, Andy is really nice, so it's never been really an issue. Andy accepted the invite graciously and politely asked if he could run an EM with him. He wanted us to meet here, and well, of course, we agreed, and he was very thankful for this. So Sunday comes around, and Andy appears with EM, who has dragged one of her sons with her, the nice one. Thankfully, ES was staying with a friend. Obviously, it would be nice if we knew that another kid would be coming. But we had plenty of food, and Andy apologized profusely, so we let it slide. Andy, my parents, and EM sat around the dining room table and began to speak about all manners of uninteresting subjects. So I headed upstairs with NS to play some games. It turns out we have very similar taste in games, so we took turns theming a ride in Planet Coaster. We had a nice time doing this until EM came upstairs, calling us for lunch. She walked into my room, and after seeing my new PC, she began to admire it. She was also especially a fan of my 3-fan, no pun intended, graphics card, which was nice, even if I held it in place by a Lego brick to stop it sagging. I didn't know what to say, so I just smiled and nodded as she spoke. Luckily, this only lasted a few seconds as Andy came into the room and see what was going on. He too remarked about my computer and mussed about how great having one would be. I mean, EM started, I'm sure the kids would love it. Why can't we have one? I can't really afford it, I'm afraid, Andy responds, for some reason seeming genuinely remorseful, but had one before this, right? Can we not have that? I'm pretty sure it wouldn't mind us of having it. It would make ES and NS really happy, and he has this new shiny one to play with. I kind of stuttered at this joint, not knowing what to say, and I didn't really need the old one after all. But I do have a genuine interest in computers, and I wanted to keep the old parts to mess around with, modding and like. NS and Andy tried to intervene, but EM plugged through. I obviously objected to this, and I wanted to harvest it for parts. And it's mine, so I quickly went for an excuse. Its pieces in the attic, I'm afraid. I know it's kind of weak, but I'm not quite a quick thinker. Oh, that's okay, EM said, causing me to take a mental sigh of relief. Maybe we can borrow this one for a few months? I guess I thought she was joking because I just started laughing, like really laughing. I guess she must have been applied by this because this really set her off. Respect your elders, young man, or I'll be keeping that PC for quite a bit longer than a few months. At this, Andy was visibly pulled, and I honestly felt bad for him. I think I really liked who he thought this woman was, but I guess some things aren't meant to be. He physically grabbed her arm and tried to march her out of the room. Hey, get at me, you jerk, or I'm leaving you. I'm not joking, you freaking jerk, she cried, and then I heard footsteps running up the stairs. Clearly, the explicit-filled rant alerted them to something going on. As soon as my parents bursted through the door, and one after the other, EM clearly knew the game was up. She yanked the cables out of the back and picked it up and tried to make a run for it. She managed to make it downstairs, but quickly realized that the front door was locked. Meanwhile, back in my room, Andy burst into tears. I'd never seen an adult cry before. I felt so bad for him that I called the police on my phone in hindsight. It was probably an overreaction, but I spent a few months saving for this computer, and wasn't really in a position to lose it. Once EM realized that she couldn't just kick down the front door, she headed out the back garden and tried to climb over the fence. PC in tow, which I sure you can all guess, did not go so well. When the police arrived, the scene was as follows. Egan was clambering over the gate, trying not to drop my PC. Ennis had already climbed over the fence, trying to convince his mom to stop. I felt bad for him too. Nobody deserves a parent like that. I was standing in the back garden, not quite taking in everything that was happening. My dad was still upstairs confronting MD, and my mom was trying to save what she has left of the barbecue. I opened the padlock to the back gate and let the police in. Just as a man and a woman in the car, but they were all I needed. At this point, I was pretty nervous that I shouldn't have called them, and that they were just going to tell me off to waste their time. But I explained everything anyway, ruling out no details. I thought they were just going to try and defuse the situation, but they took it way more seriously. They were dragged down off the fence and actually handcuffed her. They actually took the care to put my PC somewhere safe, however, which I greatly appreciated. They started questioning EM a bit, who, unlike in most parts of this sub, realized that it's actually mine, because excuse probably wouldn't work. Instead, she followed Ennis and tried to make her best burst into tears. Me and my mom, who joined me at this point, I saw her through the veil immediately, and luckily, so did the police. She really needs some acting classes. As a last resort, she tried to wrestle herself free, and someone managed to hit one of them with a flailing arm. I caught the police officer's eye as soon as this happened, and I knew what was going on. Right, miss. That's it. You're under arrest for aggravated assault against a police officer, he said. You could see Ian's blood running cold. What? She sputtered out. You heard me. You're under arrest, he replied. At this point, I realized that what the police were trying to do, and I think that they believed me, but they really didn't have any evidence. I guess Ian was trying to climb over the fence, and the computer intel wasn't enough. And it was not like they provoked her. She just started thrashing around. Either way, a few minutes later, she was in the handcuffs in the back of a police car. Honestly, I think this was a really bad situation for everyone. Andy lost what he thought was a lovely girl. My family had their barbecue ruined, and I don't even know what's going to happen to NK. He really wasn't old enough to truly know what was going on. So I really hope he's in a better situation. I honestly think I fared the best in this situation. I feel my USB ports were bent from where the cables were yanked out, and there's this large scratch on the side panel, but overall, not much harm was done. I bought a cheap USB hub which solved the problem at first, and honestly, I learned to block out the massive scratch. It's just really annoying that this happened to my brand new PC, but I trust Ian will be brought to justice. God, I can't read. Well, P, thank you for this wonderful story that you've given us, and thank you to everyone who's been listening to this video so far. If you enjoyed this, please leave a like and comment and subscribe. Anyways, this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.